Hi, I'm Julia Piazza, and this is Birth Wisdom Postpartum Yoga. We have had a community of prenatal and postpartum women for years in the Birth Wisdom Yoga classes, and I know that at this time many women cannot practice where they normally would, and I wanted to ensure that postpartum women with their new babies at home get their yoga in as well. So we want to think about a few things before you begin practicing. You have relaxin in your body, sometimes even months after you stop breastfeeding. And that relaxin can create situations where if you work out too fast and too hard, you may end up getting a tear or an injury somewhere that makes it really difficult to work out for months postpartum. So we are going to be modifying your yin poses to only 4 or 5 breaths until your baby's at least 4 months old. We also will be modifying camel and chaturanga. Some women don't know that even if you did not get a diastasis recti, which is a separation of your abdominal muscles when you were pregnant, most women have a small diastasis, but sometimes it can be quite severe if we don't modify our exercise. Postpartum, women can maybe feel just fantastic from having a great birth experience and start working out too soon, and you could create a diastasis that you didn't even have postpartum. So until your baby, again, is about 4 months old, we're going to modify things like up dog, full camel, wheel, and we're just going to allow these beautiful muscle fibers that essentially they need to mesh back together like this. We're going to allow them to do that. If you start pulling them apart too soon, you may start noticing that you have a little bit of a pooch that you cannot get rid of. So you'll notice me modifying those poses as well. And then also I'm going to throw in some pelvic floor yoga for you as you practice. That's one of my specialties is pelvic floor yoga and research-based positions that really will help you for the rest of your life. So let's go ahead and get started. Some of you might have your baby with you, and if that's the case, you can take your blanket and go ahead and just put it at the top of your mat. So this is what we would do in our classes. And go ahead and lay your baby there, and we'll just kind of allow your baby to do what they need, incorporate them. If you find that your baby is hungry, needs to eat, breastfeed, bottle feed, whatever that is, then just stay with us and know that you're getting the benefit of the breath. And sometimes, babies decide that's their yoga for the day is eating the whole time. So it'll be okay. You'll have this on YouTube to practice as much as you want later. So let's just come into a seated position. Maybe place your hands right on your thighs if you want to feel more grounded. Maybe you're even pressing into the thighs. If you want a little more of a receiving nature energy, your palms can face up. From here, just notice that if you're tucking those sit bones under you, allow them to come back a bit so you're right on top of your pelvis. And allow the eyes to shut down. And we're just going to come into a few breaths, allowing your inhale to soften and lengthen, and your exhale to soften and lengthen as well. And it may feel very odd to even find stillness or slow down, but see if you can return to the breath here and begin practicing allowing some stillness in your life, even though you're probably doing a lot of multitasking most of the time. So just a few more breaths. And if you happen to be holding your baby and breastfeeding or bottle feeding, just see if you can breathe here with us. And on this last inhale all the way in. And see if you can take another sip of air, a little bit more. And then exhale all the way out. And exhale a little bit more. So that kind of shows you how much we hold on to the breath. There's always a little more of an inhale and an exhale usually for us there. So just slowly and gently, we're going to come on over to hands and knees. And if your baby is here, that's perfect. I realize your baby might be napping, but just in case, that's perfect too. And let's go ahead and come into some poses just to get into your spine. I know you're probably spending a lot of time feeding baby and maybe leaning over car seats or the crib or co-sleeper, whatever it is for you. So we're going to open up the spine. Let's inhale your chin and your tailbone up. And then exhale, press into the hands, arch the back, drop the head down. With your inhale, let's lift up again. And with your exhale, drop the head. And just continuing to breathe. So I find that many women postpartum think that they're breathing, and they're actually just sort of running around inhaling and holding their breath all day. So as we practice, just really see if you can exhale even more than you think you need to. Let's come back to center, take the knees wide, and we're finding those pelvic circles that just open up the pelvis. And you know, the more I learn about pelvic floor yoga and pelvic floor health, everything is connected to your pelvis. So when you can get into a position like this and move the hips, move the spine, you're really helping to lengthen all the muscles that support the pelvic floor. But it also affects the spine and the hips and whether or not you have pain there. So if you only had 5 minutes a day, I would ask you to do these pelvic circles. The research also shows that it helps balance out muscles in the pelvic floor too. So it's a win-win. And let's take it a little deeper. Coming back to center, take your left foot out to the side. You're just going to soften the knee. We're going to rock and roll forward and back. So you might notice as we change sides that one is much tighter than the other, or maybe even a little bit sore. And generally what your hips are doing is directly related to the pelvic floor. So that would be a sign that maybe those muscles are a little bit tight on one side, and that's okay. This pose will help balance that out. And let's go ahead and come back to center and take it to the other side. And rock and roll forward and back. So seated, staying seated, I should say, with a tucked pelvis on the left or the right, or when you're driving, tucking the pelvis, or when you're standing could be a reason why one side is feeling tighter than the other. And that can even relate to incontinence or maybe stress incontinence when you sneeze or run and you pee your pants a little bit. So this pose can really help with that, and then also untucking the pelvis throughout your day. Let's come back to center. We're going to set up for downward facing dog. So fingers are wide, curling your toes on your mat, and go ahead and press the hips up to the sky. And take the feet as wide as you like, and drop the head all the way down. Inhaling deep here. And open up, sigh out your exhale. And we're going to go ahead and bend and pulse the knees. And this is just a gentle engagement in the pelvic floor that helps to engage the muscles without you squeezing or tightening, which isn't always going to be the best thing for everybody. So this is just a great way to engage the muscles safely. And then we're going to gently just walk the hands to the feet, standing up slowly. And coming into our mountain pose, palms face forward. And we were speaking a little bit, or I was speaking a little bit about tucking the pelvis and untucking. So here, we want to notice if you tuck to the left, to the right, and go ahead and put your hands right on your hips. Press back a little and notice if you can get your sit bones right on top of your heels. So this is how you should be standing throughout your day. I don't think most of us are doing that. I know I don't. This will create a stability in all the ligaments and muscles surrounding the pelvic floor. And over time, it can really make a difference. So from here, let's press down, inhale, reach up. And take the hands nice and wide. We're going to fold forward, feet are wide. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, come all the way down and take it slow. Your muscles and your abs might still feel a little sore, tender. And let's reach up one more time. And then fold forward just because it feels good. Yeah. Inhale to a halfway lift. And then we're coming all the way back down to your mat. And we are coming into chaturanga. So your chaturanga is going to be modified for at least 4 months. We're going to come into mini push-ups. You can do as many as you like. Keep your elbows nice and close to your body. You can come into these pelvic circles and really work and help out your pelvic floor muscles. And then come to the other side. Or continue your mini push-ups, or maybe it's just child's pose. So I'm going to give you about 4 more breaths while I fix this. And you decide where you go, whatever feels good. And if you're tired because you were up all night with your baby, then come into child's pose and breathe. And let's go ahead and meet in downward facing dog. Allow the head to drop down. And from here, we're going to go ahead and step the right foot forward. Press the left foot down. And we are coming into Warrior One. So it's normal to feel like you might be a little off balance. It's been a big change since you've had your baby and your equilibrium. So you can take your feet closer together. You can take them wider in Warrior One. Reach up to the sky and come into your breath. And then also just notice if your legs are just sort of hanging out. We want these muscles to be engaged and strong. So press into the left foot, reach up through the thigh. And then as if somebody has a strain right through your belly, up through the crown of your head, lift up and breathe. And we're going to move a little bit of energy. Inhale, reach up and take the hands back, straighten the right leg. Inhale, reach up again. And exhale, let everything go. One more big reach up. And let everything out. And reach up to the sky. And we're going to flow down. Continue modifying as long as you need to. Your right hand can come to the right thigh and then come down to hands and knees. When you feel ready, you can then just even come right down to downward facing dog, or come on to hands and knees and then come into your chaturanga. So you're going to decide, and remember, the slower you take it, the faster you're going to heal. Your body knows exactly what to do. So maybe you find push-ups here. Maybe you come into our pelvic circles. So this is your chaturanga. You have about 4 more breaths. You can even come into cow and cat again. Or just maybe child's pose feels so good. You decide. Wherever you are still breathing, you're still exhaling. And then we'll come back to center and come into downward facing dog, or you can stay at hands and knees. It's going to be up to you. Downward dog feels good. We'll take 1 breath here. 1 big exhale. And then stepping that left foot forward, press into the feet. You might still use that left thigh to come up. That's totally fine. So feet are strong. We're lifting up through the right thigh and come into Warrior One. Find your breath here. Notice the outside edges of your right foot. Notice if you can press down into your heel. And then I like to just picture a string reaching right up through my belly, through the crown of the head. And breathe. And then we're going to move some energy. Inhale, reach up. And with the breath, come back down, straighten that left knee. Inhale, take it nice and long. And exhale, let it go. And then one more, we will reach up. And then remember, you can modify. Maybe you're still putting one hand to your left thigh to come down to downward dog. Or maybe you come right down. See what feels good for you. Let's take 1 deep breath here. And open up, exhale. Finding your way to hands and knees. And go ahead and walk your knees up towards your hands. And just sitting down. Finding your way onto your back for bridge pose. We're going to do a few more poses to help strengthen the pelvic floor muscles. So your heels are towards your sit bones. And first we're going to start just with a bridge pose, pressing up, opening up the spine. You can take your hands underneath you, interlace, and open up through the spine, pressing into the legs, reach the hips up. You can take your hands flat on your mat. From here, you're going to stay with your breath and we're going to pulse. So we know that when we work out the glutes and they're strong, the pelvic floor is supported. Still breathing. And we're going to take it a little deeper and isolate those muscles. Take your right foot up to the sky and we're going to gently pulse. So this is just a great pose to really isolate the glutes. Still breathing here. Let's try the other side. And I always say take it slow. You can work up to as many of these as you like, but day after tomorrow you might be going, what the heck did I do? My muscles are so sore. It's a good one. And come on down and let's go ahead and find a rocking happy baby just to stretch out a bit here. Breathing. Again, are you holding on to your exhale? Go ahead and let that go. And then we're going to do some leg lifts to finish up here. So come onto your left side. I keep losing this guy today, that's okay. Come onto your left side and cradle your head in your left elbow. Come on down all the way. And we're going to do some leg lifts that at first look like they might be something you've seen from the past, but they're actually a little bit different. So you're going to lead with your heel and you're going to go ahead and reach back. So we're not doing those sort of old school leg lifts where you go like straight up to the sky. We want to press the heel back because we want to isolate the top of the glutes right here. So we're getting in different sides of the glutes, which will always support the pelvic floor. So you can do as many of these as you like. We'll do about 4 or 5 today. I think you'll probably feel this in a couple days. Still breathing. And then let's gently come on over to the other side. Just take your time. Cradling your head. And again, you're going to lead with the heel. If you don't totally feel it here, then you're not leading with the heel, because as soon as you do, you're going to go, oh, there it is. I feel it. Stay with your breath. And still exhaling. And then let's go ahead and come up to hands and knees. And just a seated position. And we're going to do just a few breaths to help you understand a little bit of what a pelvic floor breathing exercise would look like. And we'll continue practicing as I post these videos. We'll practice together. It'll take some time. So just allow the eyes to shut down. And begin to notice as you inhale that your diaphragm fills up with air. And just allow that to happen. So it's just a gentle filling up of air in the belly, in the diaphragm area. So as you inhale, your diaphragm actually moves down. And as you exhale, your diaphragm lifts up. So this is the opposite of how most of you have learned to breathe, which would be inhale in and exhale out. And we want to retrain your breathing because it's one of the #1 ways to help your pelvic floor stay healthy, and also to teach your pelvic floor how to fire on its own so that you don't end up with incontinence or stress incontinence when you're running around or chasing your babies. So let's just do 5 breaths together. Inhale. Allow the belly to fill up. Allow the ribs to expand in your back. So we're not just going to let the belly come out. We're letting that breath reach the sides, the back. Allow the diaphragm to come down. And then on the exhale, just allow it to come up. And just follow the natural pattern of the breathing. So inhale, diaphragm comes down. And exhale, it comes up. And so when I inhale, I can feel my belly start to fill up, but then I bring an awareness to my sides and my back filling up too. And then on my exhale, I just gently feel that lift of the diaphragm. So let's do one more. Inhale. Feel that opening, that stretch as the diaphragm comes down, and then exhale, lifting up. And so we know that your pelvic floor follows the diaphragm. So when you inhale, the pelvic floor moves down. And when you exhale, it lifts up. So the more you can tune into this pelvic floor breathing, the healthier your pelvic floor will be just in your normal everyday function. So we want to train the breathing so that this happens no matter what you're doing. So thank you so much for practicing with me today. We're going to continue speaking about the pelvic floor and the breathing and the postpartum poses and modifications as I post classes here. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me at julia@birthwisdomyoga.com. If you know of anybody who's pregnant and might want to practice prenatal yoga, they can find me on YouTube and follow and like the channel, but also they can get my book on Amazon and Books A Million and Barnes & Noble.